Hey everybody, it's Soren from Hennepin Resto Mods. I'm here today with the latest project we've just finished up. We've been doing some updating and kind of a resurrection on this amazing 1979 mural van. So this is a four-wheel, built in 1979 Vannon style van, named Vantasm. It's got a slightly different mural on either side. And this originally was built as kind of the very base van. It had the slant 6 engine in it, manual transmission, no power brakes, no power steering. It was a bit of a challenge to drive. So the owners ended up parking it for quite a while because it was such a challenge to drive, and finally have brought it to us to help make this thing something that's going to be a little easier to drive. So we've done a bit of work. We've installed FiTech fuel injection onto it. We've swapped in a 318 V8 engine, and we've from a donor, and we've also swapped over the power steering and power brakes from that donor, and making this thing something that actually can get up and go now, as opposed to a van that barely went in the past. So we're going to walk around, take a little look at what we did, as well as share with you a little bit of the amazing van in history on this thing. So. As you can see, the engine here is not stock. We've updated this with a FiTech fuel injector. So this has actually 4 separate fuel injectors in there and looks a lot like a carburetor, installs like a carburetor, but is full fuel injection. So it's a lot more reliable, and you don't have to worry about stuck float valves and things along those lines. We've put a couple parts on here to make it look nicer, a new air cleaner and valve covers. And then we basically updated the engine where it needed it. So it's got a new alternator and a water pump and things along those lines. It has a Weiand intake manifold on it and a mild cam. So it's going to make a little bit more power than it did when it was new. This came out of a 1984 van. So the power was not great when it was new. But we're hoping that this is probably somewhere in the mid 200s now coming out of this engine. More than enough then to keep this thing this van moving and make it up hills with no issue. So the engine is a lot more power, a lot more usable, and hopefully will be a lot nicer for the customer. One of the things you'll see in here is there's a lot of plaques in this van. This is true vanning history here. This van has been in the Twin Cities and vanning now since it was new. There you go, 1979, and this thing has been basically in the Twin City van community since then. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the inside. It's a little bit of a mess at the moment, but we've got some really spectacular, almost metallic dark red velour, vintage CB up there. And then the back's a little bit of a mess, but there's a table back there, bench. There's a refrigerator and a little locker, and you know, it's a real van. So there's a lot of tufted velour in here, which is very period appropriate. You'll see it on the inside of the doors. In the back here, we've even got it in this dark red. But one of the other things that's interesting on this van is that it's a manual transmission. So we've swapped in a 1984 4-speed that came along with the 318 donor engine. So this now has an overdrive transmission. Originally in 79 it was sold with a 3-speed and actually had a column shift. So one of the things that we ended up doing on this van was changing this over from a column shift to a floor shift. Not a huge deal there, but we did end up swapping a few parts on the steering column from the donor van onto this to basically remove that column shift feature, and then cut a hole and put this in here. The interesting thing is the shifter mechanism in there is actually manufactured by Hurst. So this is definitely a hot rod of a van. It's got a Hurst shifter even. I hope you enjoyed learning more about our 1979 B100 Vantasm van project. We really enjoyed working on it. If you have a project that you'd like us to work on, whether it's resurrecting a classic vehicle that's been sitting in your garage or updating it with fuel injection, please give us a call or check us out on the web.